For me, a home office isn't just a place where I work, but of mixed usages, from studying, relaxing to some videos, and playing video games. This is why I'm so excited for products like this new LG C10 48-inch TV. A smaller TV that still has all the latest and greatest display technologies. You get a gorgeous OLED panel for that infinite contrast and perfect blacks, next generation specs like 4K 120Hz support, G-Sync, FreeSync support, low input lag, and HDR. This display is as good as it gets for gaming on the upcoming PS5 and Xbox consoles. And it's even small enough to use as a PC monitor for casual everyday use. Hi, I'm David, and this is the LG C10 48-inch TV, the ultimate small TV, big gaming monitor for the home office. So just a disclaimer, LG sent me this TV to test, and I've been using it over 2 weeks now as my main display across a variety of use cases. I'll start with my experiences using it for watching videos and movies, but you can also skip ahead using the timestamps in the description. And no surprises here, the image quality of OLED lives up to expectations. Vibrant colors and bright highlights when watching standard def or HDR content. Wide viewing angles, so even if you're viewing off-axis, the image still looks really good. Playing 4K content over the built-in apps like YouTube and Plex, or external devices connected via HDMI look super crisp. But the biggest benefit to this OLED panel is thanks to those self-lit pixels, meaning perfect blacks, no distracting blooming or halo effects, which can commonly be noticed when watching more dark space and star-type scenes on other displays. The other feature that movie watchers may enjoy with this TV is the updated Alpha 9 processor, which is supposed to help with improving the picture with color processing, sharpening, and smoothing algorithms. I'll be honest, I don't really like those features. What I do like is that I can easily turn off all that stuff by choosing the filmmaker mode picture profile. This is essentially like going into all those menus and turning off all those enhancements that can make a movie look a little artificial, but it's quick and easy. If you do want to dive deeper into tweaking the advanced settings, I'll link to a couple of resources on that from HD TV Test and ratings in the description. Next, let's talk about console gaming. And this is where it starts to get really exciting with this TV, but at the same time, it's a little wait and see. I'm waiting for the next generation PS5 and Xbox Series X coming out later this year, but until those are available, we can't fully test and take advantage of those capabilities that this TV has to offer. But spec-wise, this LG C10 is stacked to be the dream gaming display. HDMI 2.1 with support for 4K, 120Hz refresh rate at 10-bit, and supporting variable refresh rate as well for smooth tear-free gaming. I'm hoping the next generation consoles take full advantage of all of this for the cleanest, smoothest gaming console experience. But even if you're just gaming on a current gen console, gaming still looks great. And input lag feels really low regardless of resolution, refresh rate, or HDR setting you use. You just need to make sure you're using the game picture profile for minimal input lag. There are also some other tidbits that I want to highlight about this TV that I really like, such as the 4 HDMI inputs. All of them have the same full support for HDMI 2.1 40 gigabits per second, which is great, especially with all the devices in the near future that will take advantage of that. The built-in speakers are also another high point. I think especially for this target market of users needing a small TV, space for dedicated speakers isn't always going to be an option. While they don't have good low-end bass, and they aren't going to replace a full home theater speaker setup, compared to small computer speakers, I think they're decent enough to use in place of those, and you can always use a pair of headphones when you need to be a little more critical. In terms of physical design, I like the simple design of the stand, and it has a nice thin bezel, so overall it has a clean, minimal look. And I can't forget to mention the price. At $1,500, it's not cheap, but there's nothing else in the market that compares to this with its OLED panel and HDMI 2.1 support for gamers at this size. And that's the other big news here. Being 48 inches, this is the smallest TV in the market with all these premium features. While that sounds a bit weird with TVs getting bigger and bigger, and yeah, I like having a big screen TV for my main home theater, but not everyone has the room for such a large TV in their place. And for places like my bedroom or office, a smaller 48-inch TV works out to be a great size to use at these distances like 6 or 7 feet and still feel very immersive. But what I'm most excited about with this smaller TV is that it's getting to a size to replace and be my main PC monitor. All those same features I mentioned earlier that make this great for movies and console gaming, I also want on my PC setup. So is 48 inches too big to use as a PC monitor? And that really depends on how far away you're sitting from it. I had to switch back to my IKEA Ergotron tabletop that has a longer depth of 75 centimeters for better comfort. Also, keep in mind that the TV and stand does protrude out back a little over 20 centimeters, so that eats up a lot of desk space as well. You can also put it on a monitor arm, which will allow you to customize the height and tilt, but it will still stick out forward just as much as the original stand. In my normal sitting position, seat up, tucked in, and arms on the desk, my eyes are about 60 centimeters away, which I find is a little too close, and sharpness definitely takes a hit with the low 92 pixels per inch of the screen. Pulling the keyboard to the edge and leaning the chair back to where my eyes are around 80 or 85 centimeters away feels more like an ideal distance for me to target. So I think a wall mount would probably work best for most people. But regardless, in this current setup, it's still comfortable and usable on a daily basis. But I'd be all for a 43 or 40 inch side screen if it were available instead. Keep in mind that's me using it with applications tiled across the screen to multitask, which is great for people like me who have multiple windows open at the same time. But if you want to just full screen a single application, I think it's too big to run anything in dedicated full screen and hunt your eyes all over the display. If you do decide to use it as a monitor, when you first plug in the TV to your PC, you're going to want to switch it to PC mode. It's not the easiest setting to find. You first go into Input, then Home Dashboard, the Settings icon in Edit, click on the icon next to the input you're using, and then select PC mode and save. Choosing this feature does two very important things. One, it puts it into its low input lag setting, similar to choosing the game picture profile. This means you can switch between any of the picture profiles while in PC mode and still stay super responsive. And two, I believe it removes some chroma subsampling blurriness, so choosing this setting will help with sharpness of text. The other settings I like to change are more personal preference. I'll switch to one of the more neutral picture profiles like ISF Expert Dark. I'll turn off the energy saving and reduce the OLED light down to around 40 or lower in a dark room. For PC gaming with a mouse and keyboard, again I find it way too big to be this close up, especially for fast-paced shooters. You can play unscaled or in windowed mode, which actually works quite well when supported and if you're okay with the lower resolutions, but when possible, I'd rather plug in a controller to my PC and push back a couple feet for a more comfortable gaming experience and take advantage of the full screen. But based on my limited experience PC gaming on this screen, I think it looks great. Again, this TV is ahead of its time, and I'm waiting to purchase the next generation GPUs to take advantage of that full 4K and 120Hz 444 experience. But for now, on my 1080 Ti, I can choose between 4K 60Hz or my preferred 1440p 120Hz for smoother gameplay. This TV also supports G-Sync on NVIDIA cards and FreeSync on AMD cards for variable frame rate support to eliminate screen tearing. My NVIDIA GPU doesn't support G-Sync over HDMI, which is only available on the latest GPUs, so I didn't get to test those features out. And finally there's BFI, Black Frame Insertion. You can find the setting under the TrueMotion User OLED Motion Pro setting. This can help improve motion clarity for fast-paced games, but keep in mind it does add flickering, so it's best used at 120Hz, and it will lower the overall picture brightness. But it's a nice feature to test for yourself. So overall, PC gaming, just like console gaming, is really nice on this display, but I'm waiting on the next gen GPUs to take full advantage of it. There are some minor limitations that are important to consider if you're using this as your main monitor. And you can't talk about OLED TVs without mentioning burn-in. I've only had the TV for 2 weeks now, so I can't really say how much of an issue it will be using it as a PC display. The TV does have some built-in burn-in protection features like pixel shift, which will shift the entire screen once in a while, and logo luminance adjustment that will sometimes dim regions of the screen that it detects as a static logo. But regardless, I'd still recommend taking some basic precautions like using a dark color theme, hiding desktop icons, hiding the taskbar, and using a screensaver. I've also noticed some minor color fringing, which is most noticeable around solid yellow objects. For example, highlighted text in Microsoft Word will have red and green borders on the left and right edges. I ran some custom test patterns and captured an up-close shot of the pixels just to be sure it wasn't an optical illusion. And compared to my 43-inch IPS TV, you can clearly see the fringing is much more noticeable on the LG OLED. To be clear, while watching movies or playing games, which is what this TV is specifically designed for, I don't think anyone will ever notice. It's only noticeable up close while using it as a PC monitor, and even then, it's limited to certain solid color objects, and is pretty minor being just 1 pixel wide. But if you're working on more color critical work, it is something to consider. This TV also has an auto dimmer when the screen is static, which you can't turn off. This is different from the logo luminance adjustment option in the menu. Basically, the entire screen will dim after around 3 or 4 minutes of idle, which makes sense to prevent burn-in. But for static tasks like typing a Word document or even just moving your mouse around is also considered static and will trigger this feature. So once in a while, I'll need to wake up the screen by moving some windows, or more easily, just double pressing the Windows tab keys to wake it back up. In conclusion, this is a great premium TV that's uniquely small at 48 inches, which is great for those with small spaces. For movie watchers, you get those perfect blacks with OLED, and for gamers, you get low input lag and support for HDMI 2.1 features like 4K 120Hz and VRR on next-gen consoles. While it's not perfect as a PC monitor, still being a little bigger than I'd wish, and the burn-in protection features can be noticeable during static tasks like word processing and Excel. But if you need a single display to do it all, and big screen gaming and movies are your priorities, this is as good as it gets in my opinion. But hope you guys enjoyed this one. You know what to do, and I'll see you in the next video.